Oh.
Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Triple P, TRIPPLE And today's Seven Seals Astrology Prophetics video topic will be Stop Simping for Sex. And before I get started, I would like to make a very important announcement because I have not created a video in probably about maybe two weeks, maybe 3 weeks or more. And I've been asked by a few of my clients what has been going on. So with that being said, I want to let you guys know that I have finally created a few astrology series videos, because as usual, you guys know I talk a lot about dating, and my foundation videos were more spiritual based, knowing thyself, consciousness, awareness, subject matters of that sort. But however, it took me some time to actually start to create my astrology videos, and I just pretty much created a very about 15 videos at most. And also, I'm giving away a free astrology reading sample, and I will put the link in this channel description, and most likely it will be inside of the astrology video series as well. So if you are looking for a free astrology reading sample from one of the greatest astrologists that ever lived, Triple P, the one and only, you know what I'm saying, the astrology pimp, astrology prophet, and astrology priest, just hit the link and contact me from there and follow the steps, and you will be amazed. So with that being said, again, today's topic is stop simping for sex. And the reason I'm creating this video is because something very, very profound happened recently with a friend of mine, a very old friend of mine back in the day when we used to go out and hunt. You know, we was really beasts in the field, you know. And however, this guy, the only downside I would say to him is his standards is very, very low. And I'm talking about like at least a negative 1,000 below zero. And but however, very immaculate dresser, sharp, well spoken, uh, but game very weak as well, but very, very articulate. You know, the individual does have the ability to talk. He does have the ability to spit fire. However, he only has the ability to spit fire when he's dealing with women that are not of so much of a high caliber. And so throughout the years that I've known him, it was not a big problem in the beginning, but you know, birds of a feather flock together. But I was never as bad as him. But however, as time went on, and I did step my game up, I tried to tell him, say, hey, you should step your game up too. And it was like I was talking like blasphemy. He almost cut my head off one time. I told him about, you know, about the quality of women that he was talking to. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. But that is related to the story. So anyhow, recently he took me around a female that he was trying to actually, I guess I would say, be intimate with. He wanted to have sex with this girl, but so I thought this was actually one of the few girls that I thought was very attractive. Usually, that's not the way it goes, but I thought she was attractive. So I asked him how long was he pursuing this girl? How long was he trying to actually, you know, smash? So he said that he had known her for like probably over 10 years. And he said that at some point she did have a boyfriend. So he kind of backed off. And then he said at some point she had a kid. And so he backed off. But he always kind of somewhat, you know, give some slight indication that he was interested in her, at least sexually was interested. And so he said, after a while, the guy, I guess the father of the kid, went to jail, and the guy went to jail for a very, very long time. I'm talking about like a long time, 8, 9 years, something of that sort. And I think it could be longer than that, but for my recollection, he said 8 to 10 years, something around that area. So he finally decided to actually move in for the kill after knowing this girl for over 10 years, like I said. And knowing the girl for over 10 years, finally building up some type of courage to give some more indication of his sexual interest. So I noticed over a period of time, what he was doing was he was basically, you know, buying small gifts, buying the girl food, taking the girl places she needed a ride. She would call him or whatever. He would just do all of these small things, and hoping that they would accumulate and lead to sex. And that is the title of this video again. Men must stop simping in order to get sex. And for those who might not be aware, simping is just a term in the manosphere where it's a guy who is pretty much behaving, uh, he's not being himself. He's not honest with what he really wants, his intention. You know, they also have what they call beta male orbiters. He might be putting himself in the presence of the girl, and he really wants to sleep with the girl, but he's pretending to be a friend, and he's pretending to be nice, and he's doing all of these good things, hoping that she would end up getting to have sex with the female. And most men do this. This is not an uncommon thing. The majority of men who do not have game, who does not understand how attraction works, they think that because if they are being nice, they think that if they're buying the girl gifts and food and small things and taking her out and buying perfume and all of these small trinkets, most men who do not have game think that that is going to lead to sex. However, I will say that I would say maybe in my much early years of life, I too maybe have thought that as well, thinking that maybe being nice was gonna, get you laid. I did think that as well. Most men do think that that is what we were brought up to think and to believe because of our parents and all of our peers, and especially our female uh, elders, role models, our aunts and our moms always told us to be nice to women and things of the sort. And I'm not saying to not be nice to women. All I'm simply saying is that if you want to have sex with a woman, it is crucial that you give that female the inclination that you want to have sex with her as soon as possible. Because if you do it that way, you're gonna save yourself a lot of time and a lot of effort, a lot of heartache, a lot of finances, a lot of sorrow. So back to my friend, so I asked him how long was he doing this. So he said that he have always had some type of feeling for this girl for over 10 years, and he just pretty much always was kind of, tiptoeing around, wanting to have sex, or at least letting her know that he wanted to have sex directly. And I thought that was one of the biggest mistakes. After all of these years, this guy was, interacting with women and so forth, but still unable to actually express this fact to the women that he found to be attractive. And however, what he was able to do was he was able to express his sexual opinions and desires to women that were on a much lower caliber than him, if I may say. He was very comfortable doing that with women who were what could say, I would say, fours and threes and twos and ones and negative 2000s. He was very comfortable expressing his sexual desires to these women because he felt that these women were already at the bottom of the barrel. That is why some guys go for the low, the low picking fruit or the low hanging fruit, because they are usually, in most cases, the easiest fruit to pick because nobody wants to eat those fruits anyhow. So usually when a guy comes along and shows some type of indication, those women tend to usually, go head over heels, especially if the guy does have a little bit of standards, has a little bit of looks, has a little bit of, maybe some money, or okay job, certain things of that sort. Women of lower caliber tend to just easily fall head over heels for guys like that, because some guys, again, because they know this and they don't really have the game to go after the higher tier of women, they tend to just shoot for the bottom of the barrel because they kind of feel like, I'm going to hit something. If I keep shooting, it's just a matter of time. It's almost guaranteed. So he was that type of guy where he was afraid to talk to women of a much more higher caliber, sevens and eights and nines and tens. He was unable to speak the way he spoke to the women that were below 1,000 degrees. And I told him, I said, hey, because the guy, he is, I gave him some game. He did improve. He did make some improvement over a period of time because the guy does have potential. The guy is a very well groomed, I'm talking about well kept, wardrobe from here, 1,000 miles of clothes and shirts and shoes and jewelry. The list goes on and on. The guy is immaculate. And so, and also, again, he is very confident, but however, he's only confident with a certain level, a certain breed, if I may say, of women. So I told him, I said, hey, if you are able to do this with the type of women that are sevens or eights or nines or ten, you will be a champion, because I actually admire the guy as well for his ability to speak so openly and so directly at times. But however, he only is able to do that with the women that are not up to par, if I may say, from a high caliber SMV perspective. And SMV simply means sexual market value. So the women that he's able to actually speak so directly and so blunt with, again, their SMV value is very low. So I told him, said, hey, if you could do this and you could say those things to 7, 8, 9, 10, you will be champion. You will be a champion, because those women are not used to men speaking to them that way. And I tried to convince him. I tried to convince him. I gave him examples. I showed him how I do it, you know. And so what I'm saying is, one of the things I suggest that all men do in the very beginning of interacting with women to some degree. I'm not telling you guys to go be perverts and say, hey, you know, bitch, give me some pussy right away. No, I'm not saying that. However, you could be somewhat, you know, tactful and try to express the fact that, you know, hey, you know, I find you to be very attractive, you know, and, you know, give some type of sexual innuendo in the conversation to let the girl know that there is a sexual attraction there. And hey, you know, maybe, you know, we should hang out sometime. Let's go get something to eat and something to drink, snacks, or whatever the case may be. Whatever you choose, whatever's to your liking, you do that. But however, there must be some type of sexual inclination in there to let her know that you find her to be sexually attractive. And then you say, hey, you know what? Maybe at the end of the night, if things go as planned, you could even throw in a little nag in there. You know, if I find you to be qualified, if you qualify, maybe we could go home to back to my place or something. You can make a little joke or whatever the case may be, and just see how she responds. And right there and then, she's gonna tell you, she's gonna let you know right there and there if she finds you to be attractive or not. And so, again, that is not really a pickup line. I'm just giving you guys some indication. You could use you could say anything you want to say, but hey, you know, the moral of the story is you're trying to give some indication that hey, maybe you want this to lead to sex. And at the same time, you could also, if you're not really interested in a long-term relationship or whatever the case may be, I'm not saying that you have to do this, all of this stuff right the very second, the very minute you meet a girl. But let's say she asks you a question and she say, hey, you know what are you looking for? And you know you're a guy who just wants to smash. And that is what my friend Paul is. He know all he wants to do is smash. But so what he does is he lies. He's a professional liar. That is why I said if he could use the skills that he has, the mouthpiece that he has for and tell the truth, he would be one of the most powerful players that ever exists, because the guy really could talk. I am telling you, I admire this guy's ability to actually speak and spit the fire that he does, but he only could do it with a certain caliber of women. So again, what he does is, instead of just telling the women the truth, he would lie. Let's say the girl say, hey, you know, what are your intentions? You know, rather than just say, hey, you know, bitch, I just want to fuck. No, I'm not telling you the guys to go and be rude and be disrespectful and say anything of that sort. You could say, hey, you know, right now, you know, I'm open. I'm seeing other people right now, and I'm just, you know, playing my cards safe. You know what I mean? Let's get to know each other and see, you know, how it goes. Something of that sort. Something very mild. You don't have to really say, you know, bitch, I just want some pussy. That's it. You could say that too if you are that guy, if you are, you know, Shabo, Mr. Lover Man, you know what I'm saying? You know, if you are that guy with a trailer load of goods, you could tell a bitch that as well. Bitch, I just want to fuck. But however, it just comes off a little too crude. However, nothing is, the more higher valuable standard and quality man you are, the rules get less and less. They apply less and less to you, because guys that have a low SMV, sexual market value, they cannot get away with certain things that guys who have a very high SMV value, they cannot, guys who have a low SMV, they cannot do the things that a guy with a high SMV value can do. I'm just using Chris Brown once again, for example. I know you guys are saying, how come I keep using Chris Brown? He's just the first guy that comes to my mind falls in the category of being young. You know, he's attractive, he has status, he has fame, he has things of that sort. Both of him, he has a thousand million women, you know, just after him in some one way, shape, or form. Thousands of fans, and the majority of his fans are women. He has the opportunity to pick, choose, and refuse. So, do you think Chris Brown, for example, when he wants to have sex with a female, do you think he's gonna go and take a bitch out on 20 dates, and he's gonna just tiptoe around the fact that he wants some pussy? No, he's not gonna do that at all. In fact, this guy most likely has groupies waiting behind the scenes, behind the stage, waiting for this guy to get off, literally trying to throw some pussy at Chris Brown. So he's not going to be in that position. So he's the type of guy should be able to just be open with women and say, hey, you know what, let's just have some fun tonight. Let's see where it goes. You know what I'm saying? But right now, I'm focused on my career and everything. But I like you. You know what I'm saying? You're sexy, you're cute. Whatever the case may be, however he wants to spit the fire, he could do that and he could get away with it because of his SMV. That is why I tell you guys over and over and over and over again, you guys need to raise your SMV. You need to continue to build yourself and become the man, the best possible version of yourself humanly possible. You need to be able to have your money on point. You need to have your looks on point. You need to have your status on point. You need to have your game on point. You need to have everything on point for the most part as best as possible. I'm not saying that you're going to be perfect and flawless in every way, but I'm saying the more areas of life that you have in order, the more you are able to pick, choose, and refuse. Then the options will become more open and unlimited to you. If you guys see, there are some guys that may not necessarily be the most attractive physically. However, these guys may have millions or rich or whatever the case may be, and look at some of the women that they date. These guys are not going at the bottom of the barrel. That is why when you see sometimes, you may see, say, a basketball player or someone, a professional basketball player, NBA football player, in the very beginning, if you look back at their history and you see the women that they dealt with before they became famous, or star, movie star, a singer, anyone for that matter of fact, if you look back at the history of the women that they dated, you will see a huge difference in the caliber, in the appearance, and in the attractiveness of the women that they dated. Yes, there are very few men. There are some men that had wives before they became famous, and they still have those wives today. Denzel Washington, one of those guys. I think he had his wife for some time. And there's a few other guys as well, had their wives for a long time before they became famous. I think Snoop Dogg was also one of those guys. I'm not promoting anyone for that matter of fact. I'm just stating that there are some guys that had their wives before they had the fame and the fortune, and they are still with their wives today. However, what happens is, in most cases, when a guy or female, they usually have, most people in general, we pick the best option we could get at the time. So you might see a guy that had, in high school, maybe he was able to get only fours and twos and threes, things of that sort. And then maybe he's got a job, a better job, and working in a bank somewhere. You know, some that's caliber, got an okay car. Then you would see that guy later down in life dealing with sevens and eights and so forth. And then now, if you see that guy becomes a movie star like Leo DiCaprio, one of those guys, Leo DiCaprio only deals with models. Look at his history. Look at his dating preference. Leo DiCaprio, I'm not sure how old is he right now. Let's say, for example, Leo DiCaprio, I'm not saying maybe early 50s, I'm not quite sure, late 40s. All of Leo DiCaprio women are barely out of high school. Supermodels, trim, slim, and good to go. You understand me? So why does he do it? Because he can. And so what happens is, when men who do not have the SMV or the high SMV, they tend to pick whatever they could get. So what happens is, when they do come across some money and they do get the fame, they would leave, in most cases, they would leave the girl that they were with in the long term, over the long term. It's not that they wanted to leave the girl per se. It's just because they never really wanted the girl from the start. Most men, just the girl that they have, if they could do better, they would do better. Most men that women have, if they could do better, they would do better. Women, the man that the man that a woman is with is the maximum, is in most cases, that is the best man she can get. If she could have done better, she would have done better. In most cases, the woman that the man is with, is the best that he could get. If he could have done better, he would have got done better. So what happens is, again, like I said, most guys, when they do come across the fame and the fortune much later down in life, they would upgrade. Then most women would say, oh, look at him. Now he went and got out, he stepped out of his race. Oh, he went and got a different race, a different breed of women. No, this guy was always attracted to women from other races. He just was not in the position to interact with those women. He was not in the financial position to attract those women, especially some of the other breeds that may have already had family members and influential family members that came for money. He was not never on their caliber to interact with those women. But however, after he got some money, then later down the line, his true colors came out. It's not like he really wanted to leave his girl because of one thing or another. He just never really wanted his girl. He always wanted better. It's like having an old car. You buy an old car because you cannot buy a new car. You buy a Nissan Sunny because you cannot afford a Honda Accord. You buy a Honda Accord because you cannot afford a BMW. You buy a BMW because you cannot afford a Ferrari. You buy a Ferrari because you cannot afford a Rolls Royce or a Bentley or a Bugatti, something of that sort. I think you guys get the picture. So what my friend does, back to him, he is a professional liar. All he does is lie to women. He sells them dreams, which again, I understand, because that's what men have to do. They have to lie, especially if they do not have it in the real world. They have to fabricate their finances. They fabricate their assets. They fabricate everything just to get some snatch. That is why I said this video is titled Stop Simping for Sex. Stop behaving like someone that you are not. And so my friend is able to pull this off very well because, again, he is very well dressed, very groomed. He has a lot of jewelry, and at times he does have some money to burn as well. So when he meets these women tends to believe that he is like some big drug lord or some dope boy, something of that sort. And so therefore, but he is nowhere near that. But however, he is able to portray that image very well. So when he meets women, women tend to believe they have struck gold. They have hit the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So what he does is he takes advantage of that, and he takes advantage of women's greed and women's lust and desire for money. Not all women, I'm not saying some women are that way. Hypergamy is real, is correct. So at the same time, he takes advantage of that, but he never tells the women all he really wants is sex. So what he does is he leads them on, he treats them very fine in the very beginning, very nice and all of the stuff. And after he smash, then that's a wrap. Then he doesn't care. So I told him, hey, I mean, that sounds somewhat kind of unethical. I mean, why don't you just tell the bitches from the start what you really want, what your intentions are? And because of his belief system, he thinks that if he tells the bitch what he really wants, they are gonna leave. And that is true. Most women will actually disqualify you. Most women will say, hey, no, I'm not really into that. But hey, that's what I'm trying to teach you guys. That is what you want. You want the bitch to tell you no right off the bat. You want the bitch to not give you a chance right off the bat if you let her know that you want to sleep with her and you want to have some type of sexual activity with the bitch. You want the woman to tell you no as soon as possible. You want her to express the fact that she is not sexually interested in you almost as quick as possible, because that way it will save you a lot of time, stress, and headache, like my boy who was tiptoeing around trying to get this girl for over 10 years. And so after evaluating his situation, I said, hey, what I think you need to do is you need to be a lot more aggressive and just be more bold and say, hey, bitch, I think we should do something, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying say it like that, but I'm just saying I gave him some indication that I think he's wasting too much time. Yes, the girl is attractive, but hey, she's not all of that. You know what I'm saying? But that's neither here nor there. So I told him that he should try to put more emphasis on expressing his sexual needs or his sexual desires. And lo and behold, he told the girl at some point, he gave some indication that, hey, he wanted to have sex. And guess what happened? The bitch rejected him. After all of those gifts, after all of those buying drinks, popping bottles, taking the bitch on rides, taking the bitch on drives, doing errands for the bitch, doing all type of shit for the bitch. After all these years, the bitch still rejected him and told him, hey, no, she gave him some excuse or whatever the case may be. Don't you think by now he should at least deserve to at least touch it or something? God damn, smell it or something? He got shit. And he was so hurt, he was devastated. And I said, hey, this is what I was trying to tell you. And when I saw him the last time, he said, you know what? I'm not gonna give her any money anymore. I'm not gonna pick up. He was so devastated. That is what he got from chicken. He thought that being a simp, being a trick, being some type of a square, he thought that that would be the approach that was gonna get the girl. And look who her baby daddy is in jail. A bad boy, a bad man who was in jail for 8 years, 9 years. What did he do? I don't know, but to go to 8, 9 years, it had to be something serious. So that is the type of woman that that is the type of man that this woman is attracted to. So all of his gifts and all of his kind behavior, all of his niceness, all of his faking his false identity was in vain. So I told him that, hey, if you have done this a long time ago, you would have not wasted all of this time. You would have known that the bitch was not interested. The bitch would have actually given you some indication that she was not sexually interested in you from the get-go. And that is what I'm trying to tell you guys. Please, please stop simping to get some box. Because what you guys fail to realize is there are some women that actually love men who are actually tiptoeing around the fact that they want to have sex. Do you think that bitches do not know that you want to have sex with them? Women know that you want to have sex with them from the minute you say hi. Like Chris Rock said in a comedian stand-up sometime back, if a man offers you to open a door for you, he is basically offering you some dick. That is what Chris Rock said in a joke. Men, or anytime a man even says hi, and he looks at you, he is evaluating if he could try say something to get closer to you, to try get a number, to get a phone number, or get a name. If he's talking to you, he is leading up to getting some kind type of contact to take you out to get some pussy. That is it. Men are not in the game of talking to women because they want to talk. Men are not trying to take bitches out because they don't have nothing to do. Men are not spending on women because they just don't have nothing to spend their money on. Men know that these things are what women need and want before they intend. They have to see the demand. In most cases, is some type of provider or something of that sort. And then that is why men tend to put their wallets first. That is why, again, in the game, never lead with your wallet. Always lead with your game, because some guys, like I said, like my friend, he led with his wallet. He led with his resources. He did not lead with game. Because like I said, some women, they love the fact that some men do not have the balls, they do not have the guts to actually say what they want. And actually some women, most women, love the fact that they find men who are able to tell them exactly what they want, what they need, and give the bitch a choice. By telling the woman what you want, you're giving her a choice to either fuck with you or not. And what men fail to realize is there are actually some women out there, believe it or not, I'm going to tell you guys a secret. Trust me on this. I know this might sound strange, but there are actually some women, wait for it now, just wait. There are actually some women who just want to have sex and no strings attached as well. Wow. Where they do that at? Everywhere. There is some bitch out there wants to fuck you, but does not want a relationship. I know that sounds crazy. Most men believe women like that don't exist, but there are thousands and millions of women out there who are focusing on their career, who are focusing on other things, their kids and other things, and sometimes they just want to play. Sometimes they want to fuck boys. Sometimes they want to fuck toy. Sometimes they just want to have a good time and move on. Some guys do not understand it. Some guys actually, for the first time, it might happen to you for the first time, a woman could sleep with you, and not because you was not good in bed or it was anything wrong with you. She just wanted to fuck you, and that was it. She scratched it off on her to-do list, and she moved on. That's the same way some guys smash and run, hit and run. Some bitches hit and run too. I don't give a fuck how good you fuck, how good your wood is or whatever. Some bitches will fuck you and fucking leave you in the dust. Believe it or fucking not. Some bitches are just like men. So men fail to realize that women love sex just as much or even more than them. If women did not love sex as much as men, we would not have a population of probably 8 billion or 7 billion plus people in the world today and still growing. In fact, as far as I'm saying, we are almost at the brink of being overpopulated. Maybe we are overpopulated, we are being overpopulated for some time now, but where the fuck do all of these kids come from? Fucking. All of these kids are not coming from some tragedy, some condom breaking, or someone taking advantage of somebody. Most of these babies are coming from conceited through consensual sexual behavior. Women and men getting together and consenting to have sex. And sometimes there are accidents. Sometimes it was not planned. But the moral of the story is there is a lot of fucking going on. Because back in the day, X amount of hundreds of years ago, the population just sprang up, and I talk about exploded, and to where some countries even had to put limitations. I think places like China and places like that, correct me if I'm wrong, they had to put some type of stipulation on families having more than 1 or 2 kids because of the population growth exploding. So again, the moral of that story is women love the fuck just as much as men. Men do not know that. Men think that women, for some reason, do not like the fuck. The same way you love pussy, bitches love dick. I'm telling you guys, I know that sounds surprising to some of you motherfuckers out there. Women love to fuck too. So what you fail to realize is all you have to do is become that motherfucking guy that they want to fuck. You have to become the prize. You don't have to fucking make up all of this bullshit lies. You don't have to try to hypnotize the bitch with all kind of jewels and fucking trinkets and fucking and gifts and fucking pearls and all this shit. Take the bitch around the world and all that bullshit. No, you just have to become the best possible version of yourself. Get your shit together. Get your money right. Get your parents right. Get all this shit as much as possible, right as much as possible, and you will see women will naturally gravitate towards you. Naturally, they will want to fuck you. And when you do tell some bitches, hey, I just want to have a good time, and if the bitch really sees that you're a high caliber guy, in most cases, a lot of cases, the bitch will take a gamble, and especially if you are more higher caliber than the man that she's with, it's a very strong possibility that she will creep. I'm not telling you that this is what you should do, because that is going to be one of my next videos. I do not necessarily suggest that you guys be fucking other men and women, but hey, it is what it is. That's how the game is evolved. The game is for predators, and the apex predators alone get all the bitches. But the moral of the story is, if you understand that women love sex just as much as men, you would not be so afraid to let women know what you want. Because 1 or 2 times out of 10, it's not gonna be, it's not gonna be, it's not gonna be very every day this happens. But every now and then you're gonna tell a bitch, hey, you know what? I'm just into having some fun, and every day, I'm just weighing my options out right now. But hey, I'm looking to have a good time. Every now and then, every once in a while, you're gonna meet a bitch who is gonna be 110% compliant, who is gonna go along with it, who just wants to have sex and nothing more as well. Hey, we just gonna be fuck buddies. Don't call me. I only call you when I want to fuck. That's it. Don't expect to take. We don't even need to go on no date. I just love the dick. I just want to fuck. That is how some women are. Every now and then you're going to be able to find a bitch like that. But you're never going to be able to find a bitch like that if you come and express relationship talks, you come expressing love talks, you come expressing fucking commitment talks to a bitch in the back of a bitch mind. All she wants to do is fuck. And when you come out the gate with all that bullshit, you pretty much ruin your opportunity for finding the girl that you actually want. If you really want to just fuck, try to express that. I'm not saying again to be cruel or be just blunt and say, hey, bitch, give me some pussy. No, I'm not saying that. But try to express the fact that you have this desire as soon as possible. And I'm talking, when I say as soon as possible, I'm talking about as soon as possible. I'm talking about when you meet the bitch. In some cases, if you are physically attracted to the bitch, in the very first meeting, you should give some type of indication that you are sexually attracted to her, and you might try to make a little joke about, wow, you look so nice, with these clothes on. I just can't imagine if you take this skirt off or this pants or this. Just make a little joke and see the fuck how she responds, because if there is any sexual attraction on her behalf, she will let you know. She will respond with laughter, and she will think it's funny because, she'll realize that you're flirting with her, and she would appreciate the fact that you find her to be sexually attractive. But if she's not attracted to you, she's going to find you to be repulsive, and she's going to say, oh, no, it's not. I have a boyfriend, or no, and that is exactly what you want. So I hope this video has cleared up that fact, because do not be like my boy, lie, 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 until the fucking reach the sky. No, tell the bitches the truth up front, because all it's gonna do, like I said, is gonna save you time, headache, and so forth. And up to this day, speaking the last thing I'm gonna say about my boy, he has not really changed that much. He has gotten a little better to some degree, but for the most part, he still lies and he still sell the bitches pipe dreams and all of that shit. And from my perspective, that is not what I teach my clients. That is not what I teach my students. I teach my students game. I teach them how to be upfront. I teach them how to be direct, build confidence, be able to express yourself for the best of your abilities with whatever vernacular, how spectacular it may be. Be able to just let women know what you want from the get-go, and you will be surprised and you will be amazed to know that these bitches actually want the same thing as you as well. So with that being said, I thank you guys for watching. Please continue to stick around as I create more videos in this particular dating series as well. So with that being said, please continue to like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. And I thank you guys so much. And as usual, please stop believing in illusions, delusions, and hallucinations. Triple P, and I'm out.
Oh.